I promised we'd come back again to Elijah. We've already seen that he stood alone against the backdrop of a nation that had lost its way. The Jewish nation, supposed to be the light of the world, supposed to be God's special people, but they've lost their way miserably. Only 7,000 still put their trust in God. And Elijah is like a new Abraham. He's like a new man of faith, modeling what it is to live by faith. He's been at the brook where he's been drinking and fed by ravens. And God says, now go to Zarephath, a place of testing and trial actually, where a widow woman, I've commanded a widow woman to feed you there. So Elijah is on his way there and then stumbles on this woman. I'm sure his expectation was high. He's expecting a widow is going to feed him. And what he meets is a woman who says, I've got nothing. She says, you're God. She doesn't have a God. She talks about, I'm going to get my last meal for me and my son. We're going to die. She's got no hope. She's got no God. She's got no bread. And Elijah, interestingly, he doesn't give her a menu. He doesn't give her self-help instructions. He invites her to step into the kind of faith that he's been living in. He trusts God. He believed that the ravens would feed him. He believed the water would satisfy his need. Now he's saying, you are my provider. Now put first the kingdom. Give me a meal first. God will look after you. And he's inviting her into faith. I think it's an important lesson here. We're not going out as moralists. We're not going out finger waving, telling unbelievers they need to keep certain rules. Essentially, as men and women of faith, we're inviting people to come into faith, to put their trust in God and to experience him. You say, well, can a woman with no hope, with no God, with no food, step into faith in one step? Yes, she could. And she did. She put first the man of God. We need to have a dynamic confidence. If people will step up and put their confidence in God, they will meet God. God will meet them. We, by our relationship with God, we carry with us a kind of spirit of faith, not a spirit of rule keeping and laws. Obviously, they're going to have to learn to live the new life. But the invitation was to believe. Jesus is so like that in the Gospels. He invites people to believe in him, to put their confidence in him. The blind are invited to take steps of faith. The lame are invited, get up, take up your bed and walk. It's like step into confidence in God. That's the way Elijah operated. He was a believing man. He was living by faith. He expected God to keep his word. God said, I've commanded a widow woman to feed you. She didn't look like it. She didn't know she was. But if she would step through, she would find, hey, I am God's provision. It's what God said. And all of God's faithfulness kicks in when people take steps of faith towards him. Let's go with a message of faith to our generation. Let us trust him. Let's take a message of faith to those we meet. This woman had nothing to bring, but when she stepped into faith, hey, she had enough for Elijah, for herself, and for her son. She stepped into God's provision. God kept his word as he said he would. And Elijah was a channel of faith to someone who had no faith at all before he spoke. God bless you as you go into this day.